Hey everybody, this week I read a novel called The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This is a Pulitzer Prize winner for the year 2016, and it is historical fiction about the horrors of slavery and the Underground Railroad. This book follows our protagonist Cora, who is an enslaved woman on the Randall plantation. The book starts us off giving us a little bit of her lineage. They talk about Cora's grandmother and how she was kidnapped and journeyed to America from Africa, was placed on the Randall plantation and lived and died there, never leaving the plantation a single day in her life. That's contrasted with Cora's mother, who was also working on the Randall plantation. However, she braved escape. So one day, another slave on the Randall plantation, Caesar, approaches Cora and asks if Cora will escape with him. He thinks that she's a lucky charm and he just really wants her to come with. Takes her a bit, but eventually she agrees. Thus starts the harrowing journey of Caesar and Cora as they escape and make their way through the Underground Railroad and all of America. One of the things that I found intriguing about the novel is that it's told from the perspective of a female protagonist. And while we all know about the just brutal lifestyle that the enslaved had to endure on a day-to-day basis, being a woman comes with its own unique set of complications that just really made me think about and empathize with those situations in a new way, especially as an adult and as a mother. They had to worry about being raped, not only by their white masters, but also by the citizens among them in their communities within the slaves. And then, of course, they had to worry about their children and childbirth without any sort of doctors or medicine. Their children being tortured, being sold, often dying because they weren't getting proper health care. And then, of course, dealing with all of this without any concern for their mental health or their well-being, and just continuing to have to work every day and get up, endure all of these things as a female in this time period. It's just a whole other set of things that I hadn't explored as a reader before. Another thing I really enjoyed, and this one's a little bit lighter, is the fact that Whitehead presented the Underground Railroad as a literal railroad with conductors and stations and stops and trains. And so the Underground Railroad, we know, was more metaphorical, and it was just kind of this underground operation where the enslaved would travel with their people and they would help them get from house to house and place to place until they ultimately found freedom. While here it is a literal, and it's a railroad that they get on and ride across America to hoping for freedom. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and I definitely think that it is a book everyone needs to read, and not for fun, but literally needs to read, because it is a brutally honest account of what the enslaved had to endure throughout this horrible ordeal and their lives. And I think with everything that you see in current events and how our country is often so divided on things that have to deal with racism, it's so important to know the background and to know why people feel the way they feel and why people do still have a right to be angry about the way that they were treated. So it's a really important book. I think it's done exceptionally well. Now, as far as why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, is because I do think that the book was written with a very flat affect as far as what happens. Everything is presented just very matter of fact. There's not a lot of emotion. And I'm sure it's done for a purpose. Rephrase. I know it's done for a purpose. I know he did that because that was everyday life. Somebody dies, okay, let's go back to work. I'm a slave. My kid was just taken from me. Too bad, gotta go work. Everything was just very matter of fact. There was no time for feelings. There was no time for emotion. So I know why he did that. I just think that this was a book that normally would have brought me to tears reading about some of these things, but I didn't have time to process emotions because everything was just given to you in a very straightforward manner, and then we moved on to the next event. So that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. As far as triggers, this book is honest. It's very honest. At times it gets graphic. Like I said, it would have probably brought me to tears, except for the language being so clinical and the writing being so detached without any emotion involved. But the details that are provided are violent and graphic. So just a heads up on that, guys. I cannot stress how important it is to read this book. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Reading literature makes us better people. It helps us empathize with people that are in different situations that are not like our own. I'll never know what it's like to be a Black slave in pre-Civil War America. I'll never know what it's like to be a Black person in modern day America. But I can listen and I can grow and I can learn and I can understand why, after just a few generations away from slavery, the anger is not gone, why it still exists, and why we should understand that. And I think that reading this book that gives us a completely different account of anything that you'll read in your history book is so important for us to read and experience as people so that we can understand each other and become better people. I know this book talk was a little bit more serious than other ones. Next week, I will come back with hopefully something a little bit more lighter. And until then, I hope that you guys are reading something great. And I hope that you're thinking about all your awesome summer reads that you're going to experience. And I hope that you consider picking this one up. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.